Michael Karen, get up. You got company.
Whatever it is, I didn't do it.
You have an interesting resume, Michael. Shoplifting, a few B&Es, and purse snatching.
I'm not very good at it, or I wouldn't keep getting pinched, so I know I can't help you. What do you guys do here, anyway?
We catch rapists, pedophiles, and murderers. Damn.
Well, in that case, I can honestly say that whatever it is, I didn't do it. I am no short eyes. I have never touched the woman that I didn't have to pay for.
Slow your roll, moron. We're just looking for some background.
In New York City, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. These are their stories.
Hey guys, welcome to Munch My Benson. My name is Adam. I am here in New York City. I am joined by Josh Dugan. How's it going at your bro's house, Josh?
Well, it's going all right. Eating in places that either were not the place that they were when I last lived in this burg, or are and have drastically changed and expanded a lot. So, but I think all the foods surprised me as being better than I expected.
That's good. I mean, It's like not a tiny community, right? I mean, there's...
No. It's, I mean, I technically lived on the Minnesota side of the river when I was growing up, but...
but it's like a conurbation, right? They're kind of bleed into each other, correct?
Well, the La Crescent and La Crosse don't because of the river. There's basically like 3 miles of islands and shit in between.
Okay.
But yeah, it's La Crosse is like the sort of center of about 150, maybe 200,000 people in the area.
Nice.
I think it's 150, closer to 150. And so it's got 3 colleges and
exactly, right. There's stuff. Yeah. There's like people there who
there's stuff.
Taste.
And La Crosse is a big drinking town. Not that I'm necessarily doing that right now, but
I am. La Crosse is,
well, I mean, going out to drink.
Yeah.
I have painting the town red.
I have gone out to drink a couple times since we've moved here, but that's because I've got like bars within 100 yards of where I live. I can hit 2 different Indian restaurants with a rock from my window. That's
right.
It's a little different up here. But what isn't different is that I brought every goddamn awful piece of Galveston weather with me up here to New York City. So I kind of was expecting it to be hot and muggy, and it has been. It's been very hot and very muggy, which is not exactly what I was looking forward to when I left Galveston. But what I didn't expect was tropical fucking storms, Josh. And that's what we got for the last 2 days. We had something like 5 inches of rain. I took the dog and the kid out for a walk yesterday when it wasn't raining. And then sort of midway through our walk, apparently one of the strongest downpours in New York City history occurred. Thankfully, I brought an umbrella with me, and we weren't that far from... And actually, a 100% lovely place to watch this storm go over. There's this, it's called the East River Esplanade that goes pretty close to my house, where you can walk up and down the East River and you can go jogging and shit. And I wasn't planning to go there, but I knew that there's this one spot on the Esplanade that's covered for about a block. And so we were able to kind of dash to that cover and just sort of hang out there while the lightning was going off and the storm was going crazy. And we could see the Queensboro Bridge in the background, which is one of the really dramatic, cool-looking bridges, as it's kind of coming in and out of view with the visibility. So that was fun. And then this morning, it was more rain and wind and all that crap, and then it got super hot again. So it's like, God damn it! Can it just be September already and it gets to fall? I can't wait.
Yeah, and like New York summer heat
It's disgusting.
is this special kind of fucking misery.
Yeah, it's
That's
disgusting.
just like
It's brutal. The temperature is like wrong every place you go. It's like the subway platforms just soak up this unimaginable amount of heat. There are these disgusting smells coming from every direction, and you can't quite place them. But of course, I mean, one kind of unique thing about New York City is just the piles of trash that are everywhere. There's piles of trash. Because somehow the greatest city in the world hasn't figured out what I think almost every other major city has figured out, which is how to throw away trash with at least the barest amount of like sanitation involved.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's insanity.
oh, for sure. Like when we were there, I think the last day when we flew out, it was maybe 85 degrees, but like I don't know, 15,000% humidity.
Yeah, it's hot. 85 is hot here.
Yeah, 85's hot.
Yeah.
And so we get in the plane and then, fly to Austin, deboard, and it's 105 in Austin.
Yeah.
And it felt better.
Oh yeah, Austin's dry. Yeah, Austin doesn't feel bad. After living in Galveston for 8 years, like going to Austin, like my nose gets dry and like I need to put lip balm on. It's like this is too dry for me.
The wet years in Austin are a special kind of miserable, also. But
oh man, you don't.
I'd rather have it be over 100 every day.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, having lived in Galveston,
I know.
91 degrees in Galveston is worse than just about anything you could possibly imagine.
Right.
But I feel like it's time to talk about a very plot-heavy episode of SVU that we watched, Josh.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me figure out. It is called Disappearing Acts. It's from season 4. It is episode, I did not write this down, so season 4, episode 5, Disappearing Acts. And,
I was trying to help you out with my hand there.
Oh, I wasn't. I was tabbing through shit and didn't have the Zoom open. So let's get to my recap, guys, because it's kind of a long one. All right. Mark is quitting his job. He didn't feel like suffering humiliation at the hands of boss Amanda Curry, so he's packed up his desk and is walking out. Pal Walter tries to talk him down from the ledge, but Mark is having none of it and bursts into her office to confront her. Inside, he finds the room trash, smelling like a public urinal, with a naked, battered Amanda tied up in a supply closet. Needless to say, Mark feels kind of like an asshole. Benson and Stabler arrive at the hospital to discover that Amanda had been brutally raped by a condom-wearing assailant, but before they can speak with her, she is cuffed and taken into FBI custody for a host of money laundering and racketeering charges. Amanda had been doing some off-the-books bookkeeping for organized crime, and SVU's rape case is clearly going to be playing second fiddle to whatever bullshit the feds are cooking up. Assistant U.S. Attorney Claudia Williams tells them as much, but says that Amanda's underworld contacts have been responsible for the attack. God damn it. I'm joshing this shit up. Assistant U.S. Attorney Claudia Williams tells them as much, but says that if Amanda's underworld contacts had been responsible for the attack, then she wouldn't still be alive. Amanda doesn't have much to offer SVU's case, but her interrogation quickly veers into off-limits territory, and Foxy Brown Esquire cuts the conversation short, but not before Benson and Stabler learn that she'd been working for a man named Sergei Perlman, who belongs to the Russian mafia. Back at the crime scene, the perp's urine is more forthcoming. His DNA was a match for 2 other unsolved rapes in Brooklyn, and he's diabetic. The other 2 victims were heavily connected to Perlman, but Brooklyn SVU ran into NYPD's own organized crime unit the way that SVU ran into the feds, so they're not going to get much help from their friends across the East River. Finn and Munch were able to get camera footage of the perp's Ford Focus, and all 3 victims were members of the same gym, even though 2 of them lived well over an hour away from it. And guess what? Peter Sipes, the gym's owner, drives a Focus himself. As Peter Sipes is brought in for questioning, a low-life scumbag in the precinct waiting room thinks he recognizes him as a Gregory from Los Angeles. Sipes claims to not be diabetic and refuses a DNA swab without a warrant, so Cragen proposes that Amanda Curry does a voice lineup which, though unlikely to get a conviction on its own, would at least get them probable cause for a warrant for his DNA. One problem, kind of a big problem. Amanda is not at the Fed lockup anymore. In fact, there is no record of an Amanda Curry ever having been in the federal system. So it's back to the grind. While Peter's prints aren't in the system, he and his son have consecutive Social Security numbers, which might indicate that Peter and his son Gavin are both in the Witness Protection Program, which would explain the AUSA's interest in the case and make the waiting room drunk's identification somewhat plausible. Since they obviously can't ask AUSA Coffee about the Sipes, they do the next best thing and interview Michael Caring, the waiting room scumbag. He thought he'd seen a guy named Gregory Rosovich, who was in way over his head with the Russian mob in LA doing all kinds of frauds and scams. Caring thought that Rosovich had been killed in a car bombing as the exclamation point on a series of murders connected to anyone and everyone who Rosovich knew, including his parents and his other associates. Predictably, Sipes is long gone by the time Benson and Stabler head back to his house with a warrant for his DNA, so back to the grind again. Williams agrees to provide SVU with Sipes' blood test, but refuses to allow SVU to administer the test, which could lead to some chain of evidence problems in court later on. She's also firmly convinced that Sipes did not commit the rapes, and is willing to go to great lengths to protect a man who has provided the Department of Justice with nearly all of the information it has on the Russian mob, including information which might take down Boss Perlman, who is responsible for 257 known murders. Cabot puts in a habeas corpus petition, which is immediately overruled, but Williams does produce 4 vials of Peter Sipes' blood, along with affidavits from the lab techs who drew it, making it admissible evidence. There is, of course, a problem. Sipes' DNA does not match that found at the rape scenes, but someone who shares a Y chromosome with Peter is a match, which can only mean that Peter's son Gavin was the rapist. BNS find Claudia casually investigating a double homicide, which she has no problem strolling away from. And then she informs them that Gavin was no longer in witness protection as he refused to join his father on his latest move, so she can't produce Gavin for them. She does tell them something useful, though. Gavin is an inveterate gambler who owes over $400,000 to an underground casino masquerading as an Italian restaurant in Little Italy. The exceptionally sleazy club owner tells Stabler and Benson that he's not interested in killing Gavin over his debts unless Gavin tries to skip town, and that Peter agreed to come meet him to discuss some payment terms. Later, Peter tells Liv and Elliot all about Gavin's unpleasant childhood, how he was forced to change not just schools and homes, but also names and backstories all the time. He tells them a whole lot about his experience with the Russians that I'm sure AUSA Williams would not be pleased with. He was a chemist by training and was coerced into helping them smuggle massive quantities of grain alcohol into Europe disguised as mouthwash. He met his wife Anna during the scam, and then got roped into more and more fraudulent activity, gas tax evasion, Medicare fraud, extortion, etc. Anna was caught skimming money off the top and executed, which prompted Peter/Gregory to turn to the feds. He agrees to help SVU by arranging a supervised visit with Gavin at Peter's safe house, where Gavin can then be taken safely into custody. So Liv and Elliot drive up to Connecticut to stake out the safe house, and eventually 2 U.S. Marshals arrive with Gavin. When the Marshals open the house's garage door, they find Peter and another Marshal shot dead. Misreading the situation, Benson and Stabler run at full tilt towards the Marshals with their steel out and are immediately confronted by the 2 angrier, touchier, and considerably more heavily armed feds. Our heroes are arrested and taken in and interrogated. Williams and the rest of the feds are thoroughly pissed about SVU's involvement in Sipes' death and essentially accuse the 2 of conspiracy. But she did send Gavin to Midtown South at least, and eventually agrees to let our detectives go, even though they are still under investigation. Now, of course, Elliot and Liv need to solve the Sipes murder in order to clear their own names and settle this intercontinental blood feud once and for all. They track down that scumbag Caring's phone calls from Rikers to his undocumented girlfriend who works in a mobbed-up restaurant in Brighton Beach. Caring claims that if he'd talked, he'd be just as dead as Sipes, so the team heads off to the next potential killer, the pornographically sleazy gambling club owner, who tells them that Gavin's debt was paid in full in cash just the other day. That leaves Gavin as the only one who could possibly be involved. He dials up the crazy and tells Elliot all about his strange, unforgiving childhood. Gavin was taking out his vast well of anger towards his parents on anyone who worked for the Organizatsia, but raping and beating 3 women didn't satisfy his lust for revenge. So Gavin made a deal with Sergei Perelman. Perelman would pay Gavin's debt in full, and Gavin gave the Russian mob the address of Peter's safe house. Stabler and Benson then arrest Perelman, but are immediately informed that a masked attacker disguised as a prison guard had killed Gavin and a whole bunch of other people in the yard.
A lot.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
So, since Gavin was the crux of their case, Perelman has to be let go. Claudia's life's work has been flushed down the drain, and SVU is left holding their dicks, while we are left with a don't stick your nose into a dog's ass if you don't want to smell some shit, Dick Wolf. Yeah, they really opened a can of worms.
Holy shit. I mean, they fucked this case so thoroughly. I'm like, we like to rag on them sometimes for doing bad police work. But holy fucking shit.
Holy shit, man. Like,
I mean, it's unfathomable how bad their police work is here.
Like,
holy shit.
To what end are they doing this police work too, right? So like to take find justice for this woman who has been disappeared by the feds, like she doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Man, it is just fucking baffling. Okay, so let's I guess jump into guest stars.
Yeah, and we have some real honest to God fucking stars in this one. At least 2. And one other one that is thankfully unrecognizable as an adult, but might be a little more recognizable as a child.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start, Josh?
Not with him. All right, so I feel like we need to start with Pam motherfucking Grier.
Yeah, I mean, the legend Pam Grier.
Yes. She's playing Assistant U.S. Attorney Claudia Williams here. This is her first of 2 appearances on SVU as Claudia Williams, showing up again 10 episodes after this one in Pandora. She was born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. She was an Army brat growing up. Her family eventually settled in Denver, where she went to high school and college. She's really inarguably the queen of the blaxploitation oeuvre.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just kind of exploitation in general, because she wasn't.
Yeah, because it was crossover.
Yeah, she was in all kinds of women in prison movies and weird gladiatrix movies.
I've seen so many of them. So she's in Coffee, Foxy Brown, The Big Dollhouse, Women in Cages, Black Mama, White Mama, Scream, Blackula, Scream, Bucktown, USA, Friday Foster. She was really like a fucking force of nature in all those.
Yeah.
But yeah, like all those New World Cinema movies, and anyway, she's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and then her career takes like such a turn. Just
so she settled into she settled into character work until the latter half of the 90s, when she was in Escape from LA, and then Jackie fucking Brown, which garnered her a Golden Globe. I would posit that she should have won a lot more than that, because Jackie Brown's fucking amazing.
It's easily my favorite Tarantino movie, but
it might be mine. I mean, I think the first 3 are. I think it's.
I'm not a big
either that or
Reservoir.
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I like Pulp Fiction a lot. I'm not a big Reservoir Dogs fan. In retrospect, I liked it when I was much younger, but I don't like it anymore.
I haven't seen it in probably 15 years.
I find his dialogue can get incredibly grating at times, and I think that's what I like so much about Jackie Brown is that it's
him just channeling Elmore Leonard.
Him as a director, I think, is great, but him as a writer sometimes irritates me.
He can go so stylized and so like specifically stylized that it's just sort of like at a certain point, don't people talk like people?
Yeah. And so since then, though, she's had quite the career renaissance, even though she never really stopped working. She was in great stuff in the earlier 90s.
Yeah, like she's Seagal's partner in Above the Law, I believe, and she was in The Package
And Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. But like in small parts.
Escape from L.A. She had a big part.
Right. She's in The Package with Gene Hackman and John Hurd.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
More recently, she was main cast on The L Word and Bless This Mess. She survived cervical cancer that the doctors told her she only had 18 months to live.
Damn.
And that was in 1988, so they were wrong and she beat it.
Yeah, she's doing all right.
She also dated Lou Alcindor.
Nice.
Right before he converted to Islam and became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Really?
And he tried to get her to marry him, but said that she would have to convert to Islam.
Yeah, which I mean makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's...
She also dated Richard Pryor.
Man.
And there's a lot of... Her Wikipedia page goes into a strange amount of detail regarding Richard Pryor and... cocaine ending up in her person because he was putting it on his dick.
Okay, well that seems to me like it could be an urban legend, but maybe not. You never know.
I don't know that it is though. Anyway, because she wrote I think that's from. I didn't check the sources on her Wikipedia page, but I think that might actually be from her memoir. And she also dated Freddie Prinze.
Nice.
Yeah. Senior, of
Freddie,
course.
yeah, I was going to say.
Not
Hopefully.
junior.
Did I?
Although, yeah, whatever. So, next up, we've got John Hurd.
Yeah, we sure do. John Hurd, who has kind of like almost an opposite career.
Yes.
Where John Hurd was... Well, but he's
He was
also had a
such
renaissance.
hot shit.
But he was in leading roles in fucking
he was
big...
hot shit.
Yes.
In from about 1978 until about 1986 or so.
Like hot
he was
fucking shit. Like I'm looking
Yeah.
at this, all of these movies that I haven't seen. I want to see
I've seen almost all of them.
Cutter's Way. Cutter's Way
saw
looks
it.
awesome.
I've seen Cutter's in the last 2 years. I've seen Cutter's Way, Cat People, Between the Lines,
Nice.
Chud,
Have you seen Rush
and
It?
After Hours.
Rush It looks great. It's apparently the best bike messenger movie out
Nice.
there.
Then I need to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he grew up in D.C. to a father who worked in the Defense Department at the Pentagon. At one point, his father was in the Secretary of Defense office. He went to college at Clark University in Worcester and Catholic American University in D.C. He was a stage actor in the 70s, winning a World Theater Award and 2 Obies. In film, he starred in Between the Lines, Heartbeat, Cutter's Way, Cat People, Chud, The Trip to Bountiful, After Hours, Big, Beaches, Home Alone, Awakenings, Radio Flyer, The Pelican Brief, Snake Eyes,
Thank you.
Pollock, and Sharknado.
I was going to be pissed if you didn't mention Snake Eyes.
Right, I mean, Snake Eyes is kind of a bullshit movie, but it's
still
Nick Cage.
Yeah.
I
also
watched another Brian De Palma movie the other day, and it's just fucking solidified everything I hate about Brian De Palma. But whatever.
He also, John Hurd had again. We've kind of seen a lot of these, which is understandable. SVU is obviously a tri-state area, production,
Right.
and we've seen a lot of these Sopranos actors.
Yeah.
His role in season 1, I think it's just season 1 of The Sopranos.
He pops up again later,
but it's in a dream sequence.
His Emmy nomination is for season 1.
He's in it, so they're like Tony. By the end of it, when Tony's kind of Tony gets shot and whatever, but he has these dream sequences where he sees all these people that he did wrong, and Hurd is like a corrupt Newark detective, like Vice Squad guy who helps Tony out. He actually tells Tony that Big Pussy was turning state's evidence on him. But anyways, Hurd is fucking great in The Sopranos, just fucking great, showing the absolute range that this role in the SVU would have had or could have had it been a season-long arc instead of one episode with just 3 seasons worth of plot crammed into it. Did you mention that he's starring in White Chicks as well, Josh? Because another classic film.
No, I skipped a lot of his later stuff.
I mean, Hurd. The thing about Hurd, right, is he was in big ass movies where he's clearly making residuals that are keeping him comfortable for a lifetime.
I mean, Big Beaches and Home Alone.
Yeah,
They're fucking gigantic.
Exactly. Gigantic movies, and yet the guy does not stop acting.
There's a weird... So he was sort of like in his later years, because he died in 2017, I believe. He died from cardiac arrest in Palo Alto. He was recovering from back surgery at Stanford. Apparently toxicology reports obtained by TMZ said he had a pharmacy of drugs in his system at the time of death.
Not surprising.
So, yeah, who knows how much it was cardiac arrest and how much it was, a mix of prescription drugs.
Dude had four credits come out in 2018, though, after his death. So
yeah, it's a weird situation where okay, I get the sense that in real life, kind of an asshole.
I mean, but...
He was married to Margot Kidder for 6 days.
Yeah.
He fathered a child with Melissa Leo, who he was arrested and charged for third-degree assault for allegedly slapping her in 1991. And in 1997, he was found guilty of trespassing at Leo's home.
Nice.
He ran through women really quickly. He had multiple marriages that were less than a year long. If you watch his early 80s stuff, like Cutter's Way, for instance... Mm-hmm. Or even Cat People, he plays a charismatic asshole a lot, and I feel like it probably wasn't a stretch.
Yeah, that's who he was.
Or After Hours too. Yeah. Like if you watch all of those, he's the charismatic asshole.
Home Alone,
who like, or Home Alone, and so he sort of. Expressed regret at how he handled his career early on, because I mean he was mentioned in the same breath as there was sort of a running joke going around in the early 80s, like you can't tell John Hurt from William Hurt.
Yeah.
Like they were all like mentioned in the same breath, and this is, John Hurt had been fucking Elephant Man.
Yeah.
And William Hurt, who I loathe,
was in everything.
Was a hot shit actor in the early 80s. I just don't like his acting.
Yeah.
He was inarguably a very big deal. So it's weird how his career sort of tanked.
Yeah, I mean he still
he worked. He kept working, but it was. It wasn't like he had the same career arc as William Hurt.
No, but also William Hurt.
I think he probably wore out his welcome on the big features.
Yeah.
And not that William Hurt is still doing those either, but William Hurt doesn't also need some ego issues.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So
moving past John Hurt, then we've got Tom Gyrie.
Yeah. Fuck that kid.
Who's playing Gavin Sipes / Nikolai Rosevich. He's Jersey born and raised. He currently lives in Myrtle Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I can mention Myrtle Beach and try not to laugh.
What's funny about Myrtle Beach?
What's not funny about Myrtle Beach? It's a mess.
So I have not been to Myrtle Beach, but I did spend basically a whole week driving past southern beach towns, and fuck all of them. That's my takeaway from
for sure
holiday weekends in the summertime.
So Tom Gyrie was in The fucking Sandlot. He was fucking Smalls, and I fucking hate that movie. And I hate Smalls.
The top billed piece of shit kid in The Sandlot. That's who he was.
Yeah,
that's how
he was
him.
Also in Lassie.
Yeah.
With Helen Slater as his mom.
Weird.
He quickly grew up, because 4 or 5 years later he's in U-571 as one of the fucking dudes. He's in Tigerland, Black Hawk Down, Mystic River, The Revenant, and Brawl in Cell Block 99.
I hate Mystic River, just as an aside.
Oh, I hate Mystic River too.
I fucking hate that movie.
It's I think pretty sure it's the only fucking Dennis Lehane novel I have not read. And I bet the novel's fine, but I fucking hated the movie so much.
Yeah.
Because I don't like Eastwood as a director. Anyway, Tom Gyrie was also main cast in The Black Donnellys with Jonathan Tucker, Kirk Acevedo, Kate Mulgrew, and Olivia Wilde.
So like everybody we've seen so far.
Yeah, everybody we've seen, and the incomparable Olivia Wilde. Then we've got Caprice Benedetti, who is playing Amanda Curry. She's born and raised in Seattle. She played Maria, Sandra Bullock, and Nicole Kidman's character's mother, the deceased one, in the flashback scenes in Practical Magic. She appears in another SVU all the way up in 2016. She is also in 2 episodes of Criminal Intent and 2 of the original series. She had a recurring part in Brotherhood and had bit parts in the 2000 Shaft remake and The Devil's Advocate. And if I remember correctly, her character's name in The Devil's Advocate was Menage a Trois Woman.
Yeah, exactly. So you know which one it is if you've seen the film.
Yeah. Then we've got Michael Kelly, who's playing Mark in the opening scene. We talked about him back in Munch My Benson episode 54. I really got to do a rectal, which is a line he says in the episode.
Yeah. Michael Kelly has great parts in SVU.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
He slays this part.
Yeah, he's great. And then we've got, but if you want to listen to us talk about that, you can go back and listen to 54.
Yeah, but we'll get into his part because I think that'll be a big part of what we talk about. That'll
be like half of the episode. Yeah. So then we've got Kelly Kirkland playing the ER doctor. This is her second time playing a doctor in Munch My Benson, presumably the same one. First appearing in Risk, which we covered back in Munch My Benson, episode 26. They are not going to de-sex Hargitay for the sake of an undercover operation. She shows up in 2 more SVUs after this as different characters. Then we've got Louis Carbonneau, who's playing CSU Tech Supervisor Harry. This is his last of 12 appearances as this character. We previously saw him in Prodigy. The rest of his credits aren't that interesting. We've got Keith Redden playing the lab tech, the one who's really full of himself.
Yeah.
He's from Inglewood, New Jersey. He went to Northwestern and then Yale School of Drama. He is a playwright. He was also in Big with
John Hurd.
With John Hurd.
Yeah.
Big, Reversal of Fortune, Revolutionary Road, and To Wong Fu. We've also got another playwright in Michael Peter Bolas, who's playing Michael Caring.
Yeah.
He got his BFA from USC and a master's degree in playwriting from Boston University. He had a postgraduate fellowship studying with Derek Walcott in Boston after his BU stint. Then he's been in 2 episodes of the original series, 2 episodes of Criminal Intent, and 1 of Law and Order Los Angeles. One of the very few cast members
that we've seen from Law and Order LA.
Law and Order LA. He had small roles in Drag Me to Hell and Dolomite Is My Name. Since 2014, he's been the department chair of liberal arts at Los Angeles Film School, and he also teaches some film classes at Santa Monica College. And last one on my list is Joe Maruzzo, who is playing Joe Tucci. He also writes in addition to acting. He played a garbage man in 9.5 Weeks, which I thought was pretty interesting. He was main cast in Unsub, a short-lived Stephen J. Cannell series about FBI forensics experts from 1989, alongside David Soul, Richard Kind, and M. Emmett Walsh.
Yeah.
And he was also Joe Peeps in The Sopranos.
Yeah, his role in The Sopranos was not small, but it was not nearly as memorable as John Hurd's.
He's actually in more episodes. He's in 7 episodes to Hurd's 5.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Hurd, whatever his problems might have been, he's a damn good actor at times. So
yeah, he can act the shit out of a scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just he was probably not entirely pleasant to work with.
Yeah.
And he's almost always playing, at least at his peak, is almost always playing an asshole.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. He is always an asshole.
I mean, I've seen a lot of John Hurd movies since the pandemic started, like a weird amount. Probably 6 of them.
Weird.
And yeah, almost exclusively that guy. Anyway, Joe Maruzzo was also in 3 episodes of the original series and 1 of Criminal Intent.
Yeah, I mean, one last one that I've got. Brian, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Delate. Plays the white U.S. Marshal who draws guns at Benson and Stabler. the one who threatens to murder them regardless, or
Right.
kill them, I guess, not really murder.
He's got a fuckload of credits.
Yeah, he has a fuckload of credits. He was in 5 episodes of the original series. This is his 2nd episode of SVU. He was in another one called Manhunt from 2001. He was Truman's dad in The Truman Show.
Yeah, that was the one interesting credit that I almost decided to put him on my list, and then was like, yeah.
And, he was a Vietnam vet. He was a non-commissioned officer and did a bunch of work. Where am I? He was also in Buffalo Soldiers, which is, somewhat memorable. Where did I have that written down? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, fuck. Oh, yeah, he was in Jackknife with Robert De Niro and Ed Harris. That's what I was remembering, which I've never seen Jackknife, but
No, I remember it came out like the same time that I think the same time that Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure came out, if I remember correctly. And we could either go to Jackknife or Bill and Ted.
I think...
And we chose Bill and Ted.
I mean, I haven't seen Jackknife.
I may be misremembering. I know where I was staying when I almost saw Jackknife and did not.
But apparently it's supposed to be a kind of movie you can't make nowadays, but a 1989 kind of like slice of life look at what it's like to be a Vietnam vet dealing with the pain of coming home. And he's a real life Vietnam vet, so it was probably a good casting. But that was definitely the highlight of his acting career. He's had tons of work, but none of it has been, starring opposite De Niro like that was. But yeah, that's all I've got, really.
And that's one of those like quiet, contemplative De Niro movies that he was kind of doing in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, when he'd have a beard. You can tell when when De Niro has a beard, it's
Awakenings
it's a thinking man's film.
Yeah. But it's weird. I kind of like those De Niro movies more.
I mean, they're.
I also like the quieter fucking Pacino movies.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, give me Sea of Love any day over fucking Scent of a Woman.
Ooh-ha. I can't believe he won the fucking Best Actor for Scent of a Woman. God damn it.
Over goddamn Stephen Ray.
I'm just going to throw this in here. There's only one location that I looked up in this one, and I'm glad I did. So it was the location of Milano's, which is the fake restaurant that Joe Maruzzo runs as a gambling club. It's supposedly at 114 Mulberry. Now, it's the rare instance where that address actually exists. Now, the thing is, the reason they used it for this is because until 2014, for as long back as I can tell, it was a parking lot. So it was an empty lot. Until at least 1968 and probably decades before then. So 68 is just when the current owner purchased the lot. Nowadays, it's a perfectly bland, modern luxury apartment building with an empty storefront in the ground floor.
How would it
so it's
not be?
Yeah, it's like what you would expect in a former parking lot. But before then...
Especially a former parking lot in that neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. So this is obviously... So Mulberry Street is Little Italy. It is It is a tourist trap district nowadays. There are some good restaurants there, but basically it's like ground zero for like gift shops and tchotchkes and bullshit that. But
and if you wanted good Italian food, you'd go to Carisi's mom's house on Staten Island.
Sure, I mean, there's a lot of Italians around, but you can find it.
But Carisi's mom specifically.
but this parking lot been used for a lot more than just parking, as it turns out. So before it got dug up and turned into a shitty bland apartment complex, there was a community arts project, used it a lot. So there's something called Lisa, which is the Little Italy Street Art Project, which now has painted socially conscious murals across Lower Manhattan. And then there's the Loman, that's Lower Manhattan Arts Festival, was there for several years. So these were...
That's not named after Willy Loman?
I know, it's not. It's not named after Willy Loman. But these were definitely better uses of space than the current building that is there. So I thought that was interesting. And I have yet to go to... Well, I've been to Soho once while I was here, since I've been here, and fuck Soho, man. Oh, my God. But I have not been over to, like, proper Chinatown, Little Italy.
Yeah.
I'll get down
Did you
there
get
eventually.
Did you get to Washington Square Park at all?
I haven't gotten to Washington Square Park yet. I mean, it's a long ways to go with a 1-year-old, and also like I've been to those places in the past, so like, and there's so much to do in my neighborhood that I've been out. Like we went to Tompkins Square Park on the Lower East Side, like East Village, which is great.
You sent pictures.
Yeah. Max, I didn't actually take him to play but I was going to take him to play on this slide, and like moments before it had been empty, and when I got back, there was an unhoused woman taking a shower like a foot away from it. It's great. Tompkins Square Park is great. But so we've been getting out, but it's just like hard to do too much for too long. You can only go out for a little while. So should we jump into this shit, man?
We've got notes, right?
Yeah, we've got some notes.
I oddly don't have that many notes. This isn't that note heavy of an episode, I don't feel.
There's so much plot that it's like I covered in the
but there's not. It's all just sort of like it's bogged down in the sort of like interagency drama that isn't
that interesting. No, it's not as interesting as Russian mobsters murdering people.
Right. I guess it's fundamentally interesting in the sort of like it's fun to watch. Well, maybe not fun. Fun might be the wrong word, but it's interesting to watch Stabler and Benson fuck up so thoroughly.
I mean, it is fun to see them put in the clink and Stabler
get questioned and Stabler's
Stabler's
Stabler's question like, oh, they fucking violated my civil rights. You've done that how many times?
Yeah, you've done that like, well, he's probably done it 250 times. I mean, Liv's done it 477 times.
He he throws down Joe Tucci in his place the second time they go to visit, throws him on the ground and puts a fucking chair on his throat.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so starting at the beginning, we've got a trashed. I couldn't tell if that was her office or a conference room. It felt conference roomy.
No, it absolutely was a conference room. It was 100%. I called it a Blandum conference room, but. I went back and very carefully watched, read, listened to the dialogue, and it was clearly implied that they were going to her office. So they just pretended like her office was a conference room was her office. Which
this is the writer's room, right?
It had to have been.
This was absolutely the production office in the writer's room. But we get to the writer's room, which is trashed. A lot of blood, urine, and maybe other stuff.
I mean, you smell that? Yeah, it's like a urinal.
Then we open on the most nudity we've seen in ages on SVU, maybe ever. I honestly, it's. Amanda is tied up naked in a closet, shown almost entirely in profile.
We don't see ass crack, but we're definitely
don't see ass crack, but you see the entire side of her leg.
We're seeing back from neck all the way down to ankle, all the way down.
Even side underboob. It's fucking crazy. We see her almost entirely in profile with basically a box blocking her ass crack.
Yeah. And you remember, Josh?
And then she's got panties stuffed in her mouth too.
You remember, Josh, how horrified we were to see normal teenagers having a sexual romp last episode what we watched, and how less shocking seeing a woman completely nude tied up with various abrasions and panties shoved in her mouth after having been brutally raped and then urinated on. How much less disturbing this is.
On her right ass cheek.
Yeah.
There is fresh. It's fresh abrasions or not quite bruised.
It looked like a kind of road rash that hadn't crusted over yet from being, presumably dragged and brutalized on the carpet. So yeah.
It's fucking crazy. Then we get the straight dope from the doctor that she suffered perineal bruising and tearing from rape and sodomy. Yeah. Then it adds that she had friction burns around her neck, wrists, and ankles.
Yeah, a whole lot of details. Lot of details.
Well, and you don't need to imagine because you see most of it.
Yeah, it's true.
You don't see the perineal tearing, but it's not hard to imagine.
What I love most about this scene, right, because it is shocking, right, but the look on Michael Kelly's face after they've opened the closet and they find her naked there, and she's looking up at the first guy, Walter, I think is his name. And then she kind of looks over at him, and you see him like, he has this look that is almost like, fuck this boss. You know, that's like his, like the way he's walking in there. Okay. And then he kind of just sort of like deflates like, man, this sucks.
Yeah, I was going to tell the boss to shove it. This was going to be that time we all dream about. And
nope.
then this happens.
Nope. Oh, just great. Really good. Great work, Michael Kelly. We're huge fans of your work over here at Munch by Benson.
Yeah. Then to add insult to injury, she's getting cuffed and hauled off by the FBI, who are going to make sure that she can't be questioned until she's been processed by the FBI.
Yeah. And Munch...
So, yeah, have fun with that rape, but, yeah, you're probably not going to get a rape kit done, or good luck with that.
Yeah, or your evidence is going to be flushed down the toilet of, But, at the same time, right, so, sure, she's not going to get justice for her rape, but she might actually be protected from the fucking Russian mobsters who would certainly kill her, regardless of whether she was a willing, witness for the feds.
Yeah, because she's the only one that's still alive at the end of this episode.
Exactly.
Presumably. Maybe she isn't.
Who knows, yeah. I mean,
so Grier comes in to tell them that they can't step on her case. Mm-hmm. Benson says they're not interested in her case, which is tragically ironic because, holy shit, are they not interested in her case?
Well, they do a really good job of completely fucking up her case, that's for sure.
Yeah, because they're not interested in it coming to any sort of conclusion.
And oftentimes, shit. like let's say The Wire Season 2, right? The Wire Season 2 does a good job of showing how a local case might, in many instances, be more kind of tragic and important than this big federal case about terrorism and all these kind of like spooky things off in the shadows. In this case, I think it is inarguable that the murder of over 257 people trumps...
Yeah, it was 257 before. Yeah, before the people dead in the stairwell.
Yeah.
And before the...
half dozen at least bodies in this prison yard.
The dead bodies in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that right there, that's 4 more. So that's 261 plus the Metro Correctional Facility yard.
Yeah.
Or the parking lot or whatever with... I don't know. It looked like 6 bodies were dropped there.
It looked like it. Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking like at least 10 bodies that drop during the course of this.
So we're at like 267 or so, roughly.
You think the gambling guy is going to survive this? I don't.
No, that guy's fucked too.
Yeah. So, inarguably that trumps whatever fucking SVU is doing. Regardless of how tragic it, and how like awful it is. Like get out of the fucking way and let them do their job.
Well, and they keep tripping over their own dicks, and for what? Like, the fucking witness isn't the guy,
I mean, and when they figure out that the witness isn't the guy, maybe, like, stop pressuring the witness because they got him killed.
Yeah. So she mentions Sergey, and that's the end of the fucking questioning. Then we get to Munch, and he's like, the perp gave her a golden shower.
Good news is, we got enough urine to test. We're lucky there'll be some DNA in it.
Perp gave her a golden shower?
Rape took place on table. Found footprints where he stood over her.
Making the humiliation complete.
Thanks, Munch.
So they are really... And then the lab tech jumps in the next scene and is like...
We found traces of seminal fluid.
Not a drop. But we did find a few short and curlies that didn't belong to the victim.
Okay, so we got DNA.
It's just like, this episode is laying it on so thick with casual descriptions of everything inappropriate. I don't know how they even got it past S&P. It's like, there's so much insanity early on in this episode that you're just like...
What? Multiple laugh lines at the expense of a woman who is brutally raped in multiple orifices.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. All right, so I do have to say that when they got to the gym, Jackie was like, "Oh, he did it."
When they got to, I mean, I could see. Well, because obviously, if you recognize him,
no, I don't even think she recognized him because I don't know that she's seen The Sandlot.
Really,
I think she just fucking pegged him as Oh, that kid? Yeah, he did it.
I mean, that fucking actory kid. He's just like reeks of child actor.
I fucking hate the Sandlot so much. All right, so Peter asks for a soda, which rules him out since the perp's a diabetic, but they still fucking like have to go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Then we've got Finn. He seems to be the only one concerned about blowing a protected witness's cover.
Yeah, and also
he's literally the only cop who has done no wrong in this episode.
Yeah, he also understands what SVU's job is because he explains it to Michael Caring.
Yeah. Munch doesn't do anything terrible in this episode.
He just doesn't really do anything. I mean,
he does chase down some shit, and he's doing more here than he does like 3 seasons later when he's basically been relegated to the bench.
But he's kind of doing the Munch thing where he like pulls up some video or he gets a phone call. Yeah. Like he's always like he's
doing the sergeant thing. He's doing what Finn does now.
Yeah, it's true. That is true.
And then Michael Caring says he's no short eyes.
Yeah,
I wondered what that meant. I did as well. So it's what they call pedos in prison.
Uh-huh.
There was a play and a film by that name. The film starred Bruce Davison, who I think we just mentioned like 2 episodes ago as it being weird that there was a Bruce Davison star vehicle.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
Yeah.
So this is from 77, I think. It's also got Luis Guzman in his first credit.
Interesting.
And it's his first credit by like 6 years. He wasn't in another movie until 1983.
Damn. Interesting. I really like that exchange between Finn and Michael Caring. We catch rapists and pedophiles and murderers. Well, whatever it is, I didn't do it. I have no short eyes, and I never touched a woman I didn't pay for.
I love that.
Just delightful.
Never touched a woman I didn't pay for. At least he's honest, you know. Like he also his candor with I'm clearly not very good at fucking rip and runs. Like I'm not very good at purse snatching because I keep getting caught. That guy's really good.
Yeah. He's really good.
I thought he was fun as shit.
He was funny. His introduction. I mean, it's complete like Deus Ex Machina drop from outer space. That he comes into it and breaks the whole case wide open.
Right.
But still, he was a lot of fun.
Well, and I think he's so fun that they bring him back. Like he's in 3 scenes.
Yeah, he's in a lot. He's a lot of screen.
He's in 3 scenes because he's on the bench. He's on the bench when Greg/Peter walks by. He's in the cell then, and then they go back to him later when he's at Rikers.
Yeah, they go back to him and talk to him about the phone call to his girlfriend, which doesn't.
And he's good there again.
Yeah, it doesn't lead them anywhere, but he is good there. Yeah.
I think they're like, oh fuck, we had to toss out 2 pages because of S&P.
Just like we had 2 pages about golden showers that they threw out.
Okay, so DNA fucking pegs the kid, but he's left Witsec, and Claudia heps them to the gambling addiction, throwing them a bone.
Yeah.
Oh, they ask what's Peter's motive. Yeah, what is Peter's motive, dipshits?
Exactly.
Like, you're really gonna fucking chase this dog down before his kid is the one who gets hit on the DNA? Like, what the fuck? Just think about it logically for 2 seconds, and he's not your guy.
Well, and also maybe realize that once you understand that this guy is turned state's evidence is in witness protection for, like talking about the, notorious murderers, maybe you quiet down, you get a little lower profile instead of just like hauling
going to hauling him in from like the most public fucking place ever. Like, how many people are in that goddamn underground fucking gambling
that place
outfit?
Was so packed every time they went there, just unimaginably packed.
It's Italian, so maybe there's not a ton of fucking crossover, but you've got to be fucking kidding me. There are literally dozens of people there.
Yeah, dozens of people. You know that these people have long arms and lots of eyes.
And you flashed your badge. Like, you didn't even, you didn't fucking surreptitiously, you fucking barged in and just fucking threw out your badge and said, I'm going to shut this whole fucking shit down. And
now I will say that Milano's had an excellent, bus staff, because they kept that center table fully stocked with clean glassware. which would be
Yeah.
difficult in a room that packed, I would think. Having been in the catering industry before myself, I know how hard it is to keep those glasses coming back clean. So good on them. Good establishment. Really, Josh, all my notes now are about the time when they haul in Heard, when he kind of admits to them that Gavin probably did do the rapes and tells them about Gavin's childhood.
And he also drops the. I mean, I don't really care about the childhood at all. Like,
no, I don't care about that.
Yeah,
but I do care about the scams that were involved there.
Yeah. So he says that he, like, after he fell in with a Mikhailian organization or whatever,
which is not a
that
real
he became
mob clan as far as I could figure out.
But he said that he became Vory of Zakonia.
Yeah.
Which we talked about back in Russian Brides. We talked about it at length, so we're not going to do that again.
Yeah,
but if you want to listen to that, it's in episode 34. It was a beige turtleneck, so it made him look like a human penis.
It did. It made that guy look like a dick.
It did.
But he was not Russian, so they didn't let him speak. Or he could not do an accent.
No. He very clearly could not do an accent, but he looked imposing.
But the scams that they laid out, I did a little of investigating how these scams work. So yes, there was a massive grain alcohol smuggling scam. As it turns out that you can get odorless grain alcohol in the United States far cheaper than you can in Europe. And so they were buying grain alcohol, oftentimes with the help of the distilleries. Like some of the biggest distilleries in the United States were helping them.
Probably
with this.
like McCormick and...
It's not listed in this Times article I'm reading from 2000, but still they would dye them in the distillery, bring it to Russia where they could take the dyes out, and then oftentimes they added water and quote unquote vodka flavoring, which then could then be sold in Russia and avoid import tariffs and taxes. So it got them millions and millions of dollars. So that was
I mean, that's how most of those, like, the plastic bottle handles. A lot of those are just grain alcohol that are colored and flavored.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Gordon's, McCormick's, all that shit is just...
Yeah, and apparently it's a lot cheaper here than it is overseas. Now, another one of the scams they mentioned was a gas tax scam. And that's another one that's totally exists. And the way they do that is they use real gas stations, but the companies that own the gas stations are fake companies. And they have fake... tax documents. And so basically they sell the gas at the price that it should cost, and then never pay the tax. They pocket the tax. And by the time the feds realize it, that company no longer exists and the gas station has been sold. Apparently this happened. The mafia was able to siphon off as much as $1 billion a year in gas taxes in the New York region alone. This was around the year in 1989. But they did this all over in Florida, in California. But clearly they did a kind of a pretty deep dive into mafia-related frauds.
Mafia scams.
And the last one where they mentioned was, they said Medicaid fraud, but classically Medicare fraud is a real thing. And I read about a great case. This is well after this episode aired, but there have been other different Medicare fraud schemes. But this one was an Armenian mobster scheme in which they stole the identities of doctors and also stole the identity of Medicare eligible patients, and basically just set up fake doctors' visits. So the classic Medicare scheme is you have doctors that are on the take, that are that are basically submitting bills for patients that never showed up. But in this case, the doctors didn't know about it, so there was no like soft-willed doctor to squeal, and the patients didn't know about it either. So you have real patients and real doctors, but neither one of them know that they're being used for this scheme. And apparently they managed to collect $35 million over at least 4 years, and had billed Medicare for more than $100 million. So that's the Armenian money train if I've ever heard of one.
Oh, I mean, I've gotten boned by Armenian taxis.
Yeah.
I rear-ended a guy doing 15 miles an hour, and they claimed that they had $25,000 in medical expenses, and the guy got out totally fine. No, there was virtually no damage to the car. And then my insurance went through the fucking roof for 3 years because they clearly had a doctor on the take who faked a bunch of medical bills.
Yeah, said that you broke his neck or some shit like that.
Didn't break his neck, but it was neck shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Now, the last thing they kind of mentioned that I looked up was Sammy the Bull Gravano, because they talked about how he had been in witness protection.
Went up the river for 15 years on the drug charge.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, that's all true. So Sammy the Bull Gravano was an underboss of the Gambino crime family, and he is considered to have played kind of the leading role in essentially kind of ending organized crime as it used to exist in the New York area. So it still obviously does exist. But John Gotti, who was the family crime boss, was taken down after Gravano turned evidence against him and a bunch of the other kind of heads of the various families. And so he was in witness protection program from 1991, I think, is when he 1991 he goes into witness protection. And then in 2002 he was sentenced to 20 years in prison for drug charges. So just because you're in witness protection doesn't mean you're not a fucking asshole. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he is. And that's really all I've got, Josh.
Okay, I've got a few more notes.
Okay, great.
So Dad tells them when the meet with Gavin is supposed to happen. But when he rolls up, Pops is dead, and Stabler and Benson are under arrest because they're fucking idiots.
They're fucking idiots, man. This scene, just Jesus
Christ. This episode should have been called Bulls in a China Shop.
I mean, did they not? Okay, so they see two federal marshals pull their guns out and respond to a situation. Why did they think that they needed to run at the scene when the marshals were not aware of their presence?
Guns drawn.
Yeah.
Just what the fuck? So then, they go and they're indignant towards her, and they're still fucking only worried about their case, only worried about Gavin Sipes. And she's even gone so far as to transfer the little shitbird over to the precinct. Their head should fucking roll.
Yes. They
infuriating.
Fucked up, man. They fucked up bad.
So Stabler then goes and roughs up Tucci, who says that Gavin / Nikolai paid up in full the day before. There's only one place that $400K came from. Okay, so I've got a couple of logistical issues here. How the fuck is this kid able to figure out what his victims did specifically?
But that's a good point.
Because they were in L.A.
Well, they were in L.A., but then...
And his mother was killed at least 7 years ago.
Okay, Josh, also... Okay, so this woman, let me figure out where her office was, because the address of the gym... Well, the gym, we don't see the address of the gym, but the gym was supposedly...
I think the gym is meant to be close.
She said it was 2 blocks away from their their office. So 755 Fifth Avenue. It'd take me 5 seconds to look this up. This is... Okay, so this is Midtown, basically same block as Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue, right by Central Park, right by sort of the lower part of Central Park. So we are going to see how long it takes to get from Brighton Beach to this gym.
A long fucking time, I'm sure.
Yes. Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, New York, because that's where the other 2 people lived. Now, on public transit, it takes 1 hour and 1 minute at 11:58 on a Friday. Let's see how long it takes by car at that time. It takes 40 minutes again at 11:58 to get there. So I have a hard fucking time believing that people are going from Brighton Beach to a gym by Central Park, Josh.
Sure. I also have a hard time fucking believing that Witsec would put this guy
in Midtown
in charge
Manhattan.
of a gym in Midtown Manhattan. They would have him be a gym owner in Midtown and work in Orange, apparently.
In a city that is has what?
In one of the 3 cities that this Russian organization has a fucking foothold in.
Yeah, and also
like, why would you do that? Someone would make him like he got made in jail.
There are 500,000 Russians or something in New York. Yeah, exactly. And the organization is here. Insanity.
It's just baffling. Like that does not make any sense.
I mean, the feds would do dumb shit.
There's a lot of nonsense in this episode that like that doesn't really pass the smell test.
It's like, yeah, if you wanted to protect him, maybe you should put Connecticut in the first place. Come on, man.
Yeah, or Idaho.
Yeah.
Put him in the goddamn panhandle of Idaho.
Put him in, the Delmarva Peninsula. Nobody goes there anyways.
Just baffling. Okay, so then we've got the kid spoke to Sergey on the phone, so he got.
Mm-hmm.
Sergey dropped a whole lot of bodies in the Metro Correctional Center parking lot.
Jesus.
And then Stabler offers to help if she needs anything. And my only fucking statement here is, why the fuck would she need anything from them?
Uh-huh.
Apparently she does 10 episodes later, but there's no reason. There's no actual reason why she would actually need their help.
If I were her, I'd be like...
They have done nothing but fuck up her 7+ years of casework down the fucking drain because of these jack-offs.
Yeah, this is like her whole fucking career, this case.
Yeah.
And gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just... Because 2 dickheads got it in their head that their 3 rape charge... Their serial rape case, 3 rapes, was more important than the
300
the of
like nearly 300 bodies.
Yeah, nearly 300 bodies. Yeah, fucking baffling. Anyway, I think we're ready to get down to brass tacks and fucking rate this episode.
All right, guys. So yeah, as Josh was alluding to, it's time to rank this thing. We rank these episodes. We have 4 criteria which we judge on. We have a 10-point scale, and we're trying to fit all of these episodes into a kind of a rank so we can see how they match up. Now, this one's interesting because this one is like, another one of those mega plot episodes. It's kind of not unlike the massive 3-parter where Kragen wakes up in a bed next to a dead sex worker. That's the one that it kind of immediately comes to my mind thinking about this one, because
Only they're smashing
shit.
all of that plot into one episode.
Oh my god, yeah. But so as far as overall quality, it's kind of different judging this one because there's just so much plot. But
yeah,
I did kind of like it.
I think it's a compelling hour or 43 minutes of television.
Yeah, it definitely moves, and by the end of it, you're like kind of at the seat, edge of your seat.
And it does something a little different from what the show usually does, which is, oh no, there's like everybody's dead. I guess the perp is dead. Their perp is.
Yeah.
But they've also like so thoroughly fucked a case that had like, a chance to clear 260 plus murders
and take a guy responsible for all kinds of fraudulent activity off the streets.
Yeah, not just fraudulent activity, but yeah, bodies drop,
but just all
willy-nilly,
all kinds of shit. I mean, this guy is like a primo bad dude. He's been involved in all kinds of shit.
Yeah, like total piece of shit. So it is interesting in total.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like an all-timer or anything,
no.
But it's probably like a 6 or 7, right?
Yeah, I think it's a 6 because I don't know, maybe it could go either way with that one because it did really enjoy it. So maybe it's a 7. It was fun. It's certainly not a 9 or a 10. But
right.
But it was good.
I'm fine with a 7.
Now, the guests I think are also good. Like Pam Grier's a lot of fun. John Hurt is a really good actor.
I think John Hurt doesn't get to do much here.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I think that he was slightly underutilized. Like, given the kind of...
There's too much Gavin.
There's a lot of Gavin. Any Gavin is too much Gavin.
I mean, it's not like he's awful here, but he's not good.
I don't know. I don't love that scene in Interrogation where he's doing the
no, that's right. Yeah, when he's...
The Glasgowman Wrath style crazy eyes thing. I did not really care for that. But yeah, Hurt...
I think a lot of the bit players were actually really good
Yeah, but
like Michael Caring was the Michael. What's his fucking name? Bolus.
Yeah. Bolus was really good. Michael Kelly was really good. Obviously,
what's his face? The weirdo. Keith Redden, the lab tech.
Yeah, the lab tech was great. I mean, the gambling store club owner. I mean, that guy just...
Yeah. Joe Maruzzo's fun as shit.
Yeah, it's tons of fun. And yeah, you're right about Herd, because I wonder if it's a direction thing or just kind of...
I just think that it's how the character is written. There's not much there.
There's not that much there, and there really could have been, because this character is not like that dissimilar in a lot of ways from the Sopranos character, right? Like he has this kind of internal contradiction of being a scumbag, but also doing good and kind of having there's like a contradiction in his character that could have been really interesting, and I think they missed it. But I don't know that it's Herd's fault that they missed it.
No, it's not Herd's fault, but it does sort of like
it blunts what could have been like a really good stunt cast. Having him in it.
Sure.
So
I'm inclined to say like a 6.
Yeah, I think 6 is fair. And the same thing with Pam Grier. Like, I mean, Pam Grier is great and like has a great screen presence, but she doesn't get.
But she should be biting their fucking heads off.
Exactly. She doesn't get to kick their asses the way that they deserve to have their asses kicked.
Yes, they absolutely deserve it. And she's like taking the high road the whole fucking time. And at the end of the episode, she should be telling them to fuck right off, that she'll never need their help again. And instead, she's sort of like left sort of like, okay. It's like, why? I don't... It's not her fault. No. That's not her fault. But like the way that's written is fucking batshit.
Exactly. Now the next 2 boxes though are ones that really get ticked by this episode, right? This episode is fucking problematic, Josh.
Yeah, I mean the just casual disregard for the victim that we open on and see almost fully. I mean, she's wearing a patch. She's wearing a patch. That's it.
That's it, though.
Yeah. I mean, what the fuck? And I'm sure she's got pasties on too. But
I mean, whatever. Yeah.
Fucking nuts. And then it's treated so fucking flippantly.
The fact that there are multiple full-on laugh lines at her expense.
I mean, how many times do we have to hear about the golden shower?
I know.
Or the perp's short and curlies found on her person. It's not like this is peak. It's not like it's all time.
But it's very problematic.
It's very, very, very problematic.
The way that Pam Grier is like staring over a double homicide and just kind of like walks away and decides to head down the block like
not just that, matters. But Benson bends down and lifts up the sheet that's over one of the fucking bodies in the stairs. It's like, this isn't even your case, dickhead. Like, you're technically fucking with someone else's crime scene. There's so much bad police work going on here, which is obviously like one of the areas of problematic
that we don't love, but
in this one
it's kind of funny.
It's at least it's at least entertaining here. The bad police work here is like, they're not being lionized for it.
No,
they're doing bad police work and fuck up a case with 260 plus bodies on it. It's fucking insane.
Outstanding. So how problematic was it then? Because
it's not hooked, but it's probably like I would guess like an 8.
Yeah, I was going to say an 8 also, because it's because it kind of takes a downturn in the second half.
Right. If they kept going where they were in the first fucking 6 minutes of this episode,
oh yeah, it could have been.
We'd be singing a different song. Yeah, this would be like all timer.
Now,
like all the really fun problematic shit where you're just like, I can't believe they're doing this. All of the stuff that like S&P should be shutting down and somehow miraculously isn't for our sake. That's all in the first 6 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's over quick, and it's like I kind of, when I was going back and doing my recap, I was like, wait, there's still 20 minutes left at this point.
And it's all plot.
I was going back to see if we'd ever given a 9, and we did for the Michael Pitt episode, Prodigy, which we covered in He Let Ed Teabag Him, right? And that one was definitely a tick above this one. So yeah, I like 8. 8 works. Now the last one depth and breadth of lives ruined, I don't see how we can't give this a 10, right? Am I crazy in thinking that it's a kind of obvious 10, Josh? Because we have...
I mean, they've fucked up the other case so much.
We have a minimum 200... Well, we have something on the order of 266 bodies.
But 257 of them are off screen.
Still.
Or 257 of... We've got 10 bodies that are dropped in this episode.
Yes, the feds had the chance to close the case on this guy. In fact, they were willing to assist with the arrest of this guy because it was like they had wrapped it up.
Word.
And SVU fucks it up. Also, they fucked up the 3 rapes that they could have gotten justice for. Now, that guy's dead, but still, it's not like they ever brought him to trial. They didn't go through what they should have done.
I think they can at least consider the case closed.
That's true. Also...
For whatever the fuck that's worth.
Yeah, exactly. For whatever the fuck's that's worth. I mean, just like so much work flushed down the toilet. So much work. And I
mean, just think about the taxpayer dollars that they wasted here.
Ungodly
we're
amounts
talking
of money.
about...
We're talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh, millions.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought you were going to say hundreds of thousands. It's like, oh no, millions, easy.
Because investigations all over the country, overseas most likely, for a decade into, and this is the kind of thing that this is not like problematic kind of investigations going on. This guy was a bad fucking guy and needs to go away. And anybody would be happy that he went away. There's not the lovable charm of, however, Mario Puzo novels make the Italian mafia look. It's not that. This is a bad fucking dude.
Yeah.
And they fucked it up.
This is some Eastern Promises shit.
Yeah, exactly. We get to see Aragon's wang in this shit.
A lot, too. Yeah, I mean,
So we could...
I feel shitty giving it a 10, but it's a 10.
I mean, we could give it a 9 if you don't...
I can't argue a way around it being a 10. There's just too much fucking fallout.
There is so much blood. I mean, just the...
I think there's more fallout here than in any other episode.
I'm trying... as far as the number of bodies...
Yeah, I mean,
next to the one with the Congo episode...
Long Island serial killer is a lot, too,
But yeah, and it's similar to that one in that... all of those bodies, primarily, almost all of the bodies had dropped before the episode.
This has more bodies dropped than Long Island serial killer.
Yeah, it sure did.
In the episode.
We were not able to count how many bodies were laid out in that prison yard.
A fucking lot.
There were a lot.
Yeah, I think as much as it pains me, I think it's got to be a 10 there.
Yeah, I mean, so...
I don't think this is an all-timer episode, but this goddamn scoring... is gonna sort of do what
I'm willing to...
how I feel that Hooked did, where Hooked just ticked the boxes and
hard. It's
crazy.
Hard.
It's crazy, but it's not so I just happened to rewatch it the other day.
Hooked?
Yeah, because it was on USA a week ago. And it's it's fine.
Yeah, but it really ticks the boxes for us.
It really ticks all of the crazy boxes. It's probably the most extreme case of our rating system working in the case of an episode that's good, really good, but not all time.
What did we give the? Yeah, we sure did. We gave it a 9. I mean, I think we might have been giving Hooked a little too much for quality, just because. We were cackling so much by the end because they'd caused a full-on AIDS epidemic across the 5 boroughs. But I mean, so this one gets a 7.75 overall, which
is very high.
Which is very high. It's not in the top tier, but it's definitely getting close. I mean, it's pretty close. I really think
if you look at the ones over 7.5, there aren't many. It's only 6 episodes.
C to A ranking. So above 7, yeah, I mean, it's actually, it becomes, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, becomes the 6th highest one that we've rated. So just below Prodigy, and then below the classics being Ridicule, that's the Paige Turco, Diane Neal, not as Novak, below Rhodium Nights.
But as Novak.
Yeah, but as Novak. the Hooked, which we talked about, and Slaves, which is still one of the most, maybe the most memorable SVU episode for me. That's the Andrew
Wait, this is
McCarthy
above
one.
Web? That sucks.
Yeah, this is above Web.
Web's a better episode than this.
Then we can... Okay, so what I was going to offer, and I know we don't love doing this.
But drop either guest stars or...
Well, I was going to drop quality to a 6, which we discussed doing anyways.
Yeah, I think it's a 6.
And that puts it at the same level as not one, but 2 Connor Paolo episodes. So both Juvenile and Webb are 7.5s.
Connor Paolo gives us the gold, you know?
He sure does. And I think there's probably multiple Patricia Charbonneau episodes that are 7.5s as well. At least one that I'm looking at.
Streetwise?
Yeah, Streetwise. So, I mean, it was good. It was fun. It was good. It's definitely like when you see Pam Grier and John Hurd, you stop what you're doing and you're like, holy shit, these people are famous.
Right.
And it's definitely different. I don't know. Well, maybe we'll come back to it. Maybe we'll get some more of these like plot heavy, crazed, you know.
Yeah, where they somehow
minute episodes
get their dick stuck in some big case.
Yeah,
that isn't theirs.
And they have no business being in. And you'd think Cabot or Kragen or somebody higher up the chain of command would be like, you guys need to stop what you're fucking doing.
Stop stepping on your own dicks and theirs. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So
roll the next episode, Josh.
Yes. Yeah. So we are going over to episode.lol, which was created by friend of the pod, Flet. And you know, you can do this shit on your own. Pick an episode of whatever fucking show you want to watch at random and throw it on. So going over to episode.lol, clicking on the thing, the tape is spinning. Looks like we've got an episode from season 21, episode 5 of said season, which is At Midnight in Manhattan. The overview of the episode is the detectives are spread thin when 3 major cases come in at midnight.
They have nobody on the unit. Of course they're spread thin. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Rollins and Carisi argue over an arrest. So this is the sort of first of Carisi and Rollins butting heads because she's kind of pissed about him leaving. And this is where that sort of plays out a little bit because he is now ADA, and this is, you know, his 5th episode as an ADA. Yeah. So I remember this one. I'm not going to say too much about it. I won't spoil things for anyone.
I'm looking down the cast list, and
bunch of randos.
It's a bunch of people I don't recognize. Of course, season 21, that's not surprising.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
When it's not a stunt cast episode. But we'll fucking do this one next week.
Yeah,
we'll fucking watch it, and
it'll be interesting.
It will be a thing.
No idea what to expect.
I'm not going to spoil anything. Anyway. So everybody should go out and rate and review the podcast wherever that action can be taken.
Please.
So go to Apple Podcasts, go to Podchaser, fucking cut and paste in both of them. Like, review it fucking everywhere.
Yeah. That helps a lot.
It does. It really helps a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Until then, keep on munching.
Yeah, munch the fuck out of our Bensons. Munch the fuck out of everyone's Bensons.
Yeah, everybody needs a little munch in their life, guys.
Yeah, munch everyone's Bensons.
How you holding up?
Denied my civil liberties, treated like some skell, suspected of conspiracy to commit murder. But, yeah, I think I've hit bottom.
IAB was here digging for dirt.
I think I spoke too soon.